Hey everyone! So today we're going to dive into some really powerful ideas from the best-selling book Age of Invisible Machines. It's basically a roadmap to a future that, well, is getting here a whole lot faster than most people realize.
All right, let's just start with the punchline. The book kicks off with this incredibly stark warning. And, this isn't just for dramatic effect. It's a direct shot at how most companies are still operating today, using strategies and systems that are about to become, frankly, completely obsolete.
And here's the data to back that up. It's pretty staggering. Research from Yale shows the average lifespan of a company on the S&P 500 has absolutely plummeted, from 67 years all the way down to just 15. The pace of change is just accelerating like crazy, which means standing still, yeah, that's the riskiest move you can possibly make.
Now, all that corporate pressure, it translates into something we have all felt. You know what I'm talking about? Those awful, soul-crushing interactions we have with machines every day. Think about those automated call centers from hell, or those useless chatbots that just trap you in a loop. The book has a perfect name for this, these shitbot doldrums. And getting us out of that mess is what this is all about.
Right, but you're probably thinking, hold on, what about all this new AI? Isn't ChatGPT supposed to be the magic wand that fixes all this? And that's a totally fair question. It feels like we should just be able to plug in these new tools and the shitbot problem will just go away. But as we're about to see, that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions holding businesses back right now.
So this is really the heart of the matter. You got to understand the difference between these two approaches. Over on the left, you have bolt-on AI. This is what most companies are doing. They're just tacking a new AI tool like an LLM onto their old, creaky systems. Sure, you might get a few quick wins, but it's just a band-aid. The book calls this random acts of automation, and it's a dead end. What you want is over on the right, real systemic change. We're not talking about one tool. We're talking about building an entire self-aware ecosystem that follows an actual orchestrated strategy.
And that kind of deep, systemic change, well, it has a name. The book calls it organizational AGI.
So what on earth is OAGI? Okay, try to imagine your company not as a bunch of separate departments and software, but as a single living organism. That's the big idea. OAGI is when a company's entire tech ecosystem kind of wakes up and becomes self-aware. It's a system that understands everything that's happening in context all at once and uses a team of coordinated AI agents to make the whole organization self-driving.
And this visual here really helps paint the picture. See, it's not some single giant AI brain calling all the shots. It's a network. It's an ecosystem of technologies, processes, people, and AI agents all connected, all working in concert. It's something that can actually evolve and adapt on its own.
And look, this isn't some pie-in-the-sky sci-fi concept. It's already happening. Take a look at Ant Group. Harvard Business Review dug into their operations and found that, yeah, AI basically runs the show. There aren't managers approving every loan or employees giving all the financial advice. This lets them operate at a scale and speed that traditional companies, bogged down by human limits, they just can't compete with.
Okay, so if the organization becomes this giant self-driving ecosystem, how do we actually interact with it? How do you and I use it? This is the key that unlocks the whole thing. And it brings us to the next massive idea in the book, the conversational super UI.
Here's the magic trick. As conversation, just talking or typing, becomes the main way we interact with all this power, the insane complexity behind the curtain just vanishes. The interface itself gets out of the way. All that friction is gone. The machine becomes invisible. And to really get why this is such a leap, just look at how we've interacted with computers over the years. We went from typing commands, to clicking on icons with a mouse, to tapping on screens. But the book argues that a conversational UI isn't just the next step. It's the final step. It's a super UI because it can control all the others. You can just ask it in plain language to do something, and it can go operate any of those older systems for you, behind the scenes. So, what's the end game here? What happens when a company actually pulls this off and achieves this OAG state? Well, they don't just get a little bit ahead. They build what the book calls an insurmountable lead. And that's because of this incredible force multiplying effect. The best way to think about it is like compound interest. The first few gains you get from automation free up people and money, which you then reinvest into creating more automation. At first, the growth is slow, but over time, it becomes exponential. It snowballs into this massive competitive advantage that becomes practically impossible for anyone else to catch up to.
Which brings us right back to the one question you need to be asking. Are the changes happening around you just bolt-ons? A bunch of random, disconnected acts of automation?
Or are you part of building a true, living, interconnected ecosystem? Because according to the Age of Invisible Machines, the answer to that question is going to decide who's still around in the next 15 years.